Hello small settlers. In this video, I'm creating my first dice tower. I haven't found a name for it yet, so if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Let's dive in and see how it was made and how it turned out. First of all, I want to thank my subscriber, Mark Lewis, whose castle inspired me to create this dice tower and, overall, to start learning how to create buildings, something I hadn't done before. I decided to model it in Blender because I've been wanting to learn Blender for a long time, and it will be helpful for my future projects. The main part of the building was inspired by the ruins of St. Andrew's Cathedral in Scotland. It's not a direct replica, but I like the forms and the big round window at the top, and I think you can see the similarities. I started with simple shapes like cubes and cylinders, focusing on the left side of the dice tower first, so I could test how it worked with the largest dice I have. Plus, it's much easier to just mirror the design after the first part is done. I've skipped most of the modeling in the video because of the long process, especially when you're still learning. It took me around 4 to 5 days to model it. The hardest part was modeling the handrails. After shaping them, the array modifier made it difficult to wrap them around, like with the stairs, so I ended up doing it manually instead of using modifiers. Here's how the final model looks. It's not ideal, but keep in mind that I was learning how to model and create buildings. After that, I printed a test model to see how it worked with all my dice. Once that was successful, I started printing the final version. The model wasn't perfect, so I encountered some issues during printing. I didn't add any textures or extra details so that I could easily fix and adjust things without worrying about the textures. It took me another 4 days to print it. I cut the towers and the main part of the building in half, so I could reprint any part if something went wrong. I also printed all the windows and gates separately, and I had to rework some of them after the first print failed. If you're learning modeling and 3D printing, be prepared for such things. The main part of the building had some imperfections, and while I could have reprinted it, I decided not to waste filament and just fix it by hand. Plus, I had cut it in the slicer, and, surprise surprise, I never saved my slicer settings or models for some reason. These mistakes taught me to always save my settings or export the model as separate STL files from Blender. After removing all the supports and polishing the parts, I assembled them using super glue. For some sections, I primed them first because it would have been harder to paint the insides after gluing. Some parts were difficult to sand by hand, so I modeled a sanding tool with different angles, and I was so excited when it worked perfectly on the first print. The tool is tiny, just 5 centimeters long, but it was incredibly helpful. If you need the model, It's free and linked in the description below. I hope you'll support the channel by subscribing and leaving a like on this video if you find it useful, so other people could find it too. I lightened the model using white paint and began painting. Most dice towers have a stone texture, but I decided to go for a brick look. I mixed a brick-like color using raw sienna, vermilion, and Bordeaux. I also added shading at the bottom of the building to give it an aged look. Since the model doesn't have any textures, I painted it to give the illusion of bricks. I used yellow ochre and a small brush for fine details, and added some vermilion to make the bricks more vibrant. After all the painting, I varnish it with matte spray varnish just to be safe. This is my first dice tower, but definitely not my last. If you have any suggestions for designs you'd like to see in the next dice tower, let me know in the comments. Who knows, I might even do a giveaway, and one of you could win it. For now, this dice tower is in the good hands of my friends, and we've already tested it while playing Betrayal at House on the Hill. This guy was the most interested in this dice tower. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out more videos on this channel. Likes and subscriptions are always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video coming next week.